Friends, I believe one teacher is all it takes to turn around a student's life. Research by Professor Eric Hanushek from Stanford University proves that having a high-quality teacher in primary school could substantially offset the influence of poverty on school test scores, having a high-quality teacher. Professor Eric also found that teacher expertise is the one factor that trumps all other factors that parents care about the most, such as class sizes and school infrastructure, etc. Another research by Thomas Kane of Harvard University found that if pupils from disadvantaged backgrounds were taught by the best quarter of teachers, that is the top 25%, if pupils from disadvantaged backgrounds were taught by the top 25% of teachers, the gap between their achievement and the kids from affluent backgrounds would completely disappear if only these kids had access to the top 25% teachers. It looks like this research supports what Nelson Mandela famously said: education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. But friends, without compassionate and competent teachers who are the backbone of a great education, education becomes meaningless and fails to be that weapon of change that Nelson Mandela talked about. Great teachers, my friends, do much more than teaching math, science, and history. Great teachers know they are the managers of the world's most precious resource, our youth. They know real education's goal is not just to fill a vessel, but to ignite a flame. These are the teachers who give you more than just homework to take home. They give you hope, encouragement, and the gift of their patience and love. And with this love and empathy, they transform the lives of their students. I'm reminded of a beautiful short story shared by Dr. Wayne Dyer in one of his lectures. He called it a tender story, the Teddy Stoddard story. As she stood in front of her fifth grade class on the very first day of school, she told the children a lie. Like most teachers, she looked at her students and said that she loved them all the same. However, that was impossible because there, in the front row, slumped in his seat, was a little boy named Teddy Stoddard. Mrs. Thompson had watched Teddy the year before and noticed that he did not play very well with the other children. His clothes were always messy and he constantly needed a bath. In addition, Teddy could be unpleasant. It got to the point where now Mrs. Thompson would actually take delight in marking his papers with a broad red pen, making big bold X's and then putting an F at the top of his papers. At the school where Mrs. Thompson taught, she was required to review each child's past records, and she put off Teddy's until last. However, when she checked his file, she was in for a surprise. Teddy's first grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is a bright child with a ready laugh. He does his work neatly and has good manners. This boy is a joy to be around." His second grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he's troubled because his mother has a terminal illness and life at home must be a struggle." His third grade teacher wrote, "His mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father doesn't show much interest, and his home life will soon affect him if some steps aren't taken." Teddy's fourth grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is withdrawn and doesn't show much interest in school. He doesn't have many friends, and he sometimes sleeps in class." You see, Mrs. Thompson realized the problem by now, and she was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students brought her nice Christmas presents wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper, except for Teddy's. Teddy's present was clumsily wrapped in the heavy brown paper that he got from a grocery bag. Mrs. Thompson took pains to open it in the middle of other presents. Some of the children started to laugh when she found a rhinestone bracelet with some of the stones missing and a bottle of perfume that was only 1/4 full. But she stifled the children's laughter when she exclaimed how pretty the bracelet was, putting it on and dabbing some of the perfume on her wrist. Teddy Stoddard stayed after school that day just long enough to say, "Mrs. Thompson, today you smelled just like my mom used to." After the children left, she cried for at least an hour. On that very day, Mrs. Thompson decided to quit teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic. Instead, she began to teach children, to really teach children. She paid particular attention to Teddy, and as she worked with him, his mind seemed to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Teddy had become one of the smartest children in the class, and despite her lie that she would love all the children the same, Teddy became one of her teacher's pets. A year later, she found a note under her door from Teddy, telling her that she was the best teacher he ever had in his whole life. 6 years went by before she got another note from Teddy. He then wrote that he had finished high school, 3rd in his class, and she was still the best teacher he ever had in his life. 4 years after that, she got another letter saying that while things had been tough at times, he'd stayed in school and had stuck with it and would soon graduate from college with the highest of honors. He assured Mrs. Thompson that she was still the best and favorite teacher he ever had in his whole life. Then 4 more years passed and yet another letter came. He explained that he decided to go a little further after getting his bachelor's degree. The letter explained that she was still the best and favorite teacher he ever had. But by now, his name was a little longer. The letter was signed Theodore F. Stoddard, MD. The story doesn't end there, my friends. You see, there was another letter that spring from Teddy in which he wrote that he had met this girl and he was going to be married soon. He explained that his father had died a couple of years ago and he was wondering if Mrs. Thompson might agree to sit at the wedding in the place that was usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Of course, Mrs. Thompson said yes. And guess what? She wore that bracelet, the one with the several rhinestones missing, and she made sure she was wearing the same perfume that Teddy remembered his mother wearing on their last Christmas together. They hugged each other, and Dr. Stoddard whispered in Mrs. Thompson's ears, "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson, for believing in me. Thank you so much for making me feel important and showing me that I could make a difference." Mrs. Thompson, with tears in her eyes, whispered back. She said, "Teddy, you have it all wrong. You have it all wrong, Teddy. You were the one who taught me that I could make a difference. I didn't know how to teach until I met you. I didn't know how to teach until I met you, Teddy." Great teachers, my friends, do much more than just teaching math, science, and history. They don't merely fill their students' minds with information. They ignite their inner flame. They give them more than homework to take home. They give hope, encouragement, and the gift of their patience and love. I'll leave you with this quote by Henry Adams, who wrote, "A teacher affects eternity. A teacher affects eternity. She can never tell where her influence stops." If you're a teacher, please remember, even you cannot tell where your influence stops. You affect eternity. Thanks for tuning in.